Yeah! Yeah!
Just finished resupplying in Eureka, finally setting out onto one of the sections I've been looking forward to the most, the Diamond Mountains and the Ruby Mountains. Both have gemstone names. Figured they've got to be pretty good, right?
Eureka is, it's a weird town. Out of all the places I've been, kind of like the least welcoming to hikers. Sitting at the bar, eating dinner, and made eye contact with a guy about my age, and kind of the nod, you know. I said, hey, were you here for the 4th of July thing? I hear they do a big 4th of July thing in Eureka. How was it? You know, he said, well, I just got in today. I said, oh, okay. He said, well, what about you? I said, well, I was up in the Monitor Range doing some hiking. And I said, you know, it's part of a little bit longer hike I'm doing. I'm doing a hike through the state of Nevada, an 1,100-mile hike. And he just kind of looked at me and kind of shrugged his shoulders. He's like, okay. And that's pretty much it. He turned his back on me and started talking to somebody else. So that was kind of funny. Apparently it wasn't very impressive. Yeah, it's kind of the impression I've gotten about this place. And this is a pretty good perspective. This is the Diamond Range, that's Diamond Peak. And then basically follow that ridge line the entire way down this mountain range. And then on the other side at the end of the range, cut over through Huntington Valley into the Ruby Mountains. A happy July to you all. I hope your grazing is going excellently today. Yeah, so I'm making some pretty good progress. Kind of at the point where the roads are going to get a little steep, and then eventually up there in the ridge line the road ends. And now I'm off trail. It's never shorter. The shortcut always turns into being the long cut. Well, I can see a bunch of cows over there. What looks to be a trough, maybe. Sorry guys, your water's not my water. A spring like this is a real luxury. Just clear water flowing out of a pipe. No trough to deal with, no muddy puddles. All right, well, I am up on the crest of the Diamond Range. So now there's no more trail, no more road. It's just following this ridge line off the whole Diamond Range. Oh, wow. Now that is a desolate looking valley over there. And actually, so far, there's a bit of a trail. Man, I'm really liking this Ridgewalk. I did not expect a trail up here. I did not expect it to be, I don't want to say easy going, but I thought it was going to be more of a bushwhack like everything else. And yeah, this is actually really, really nice. I hope the whole range stays just like this. And there's a helicopter right there. So I just came from over there and just made it up to the saddle here, and Diamond Peak is up there, and up here on the saddle you got this windbreak here made out of rocks. That'd be a great spot to camp if I was ready to camp, but of course I'm not. Just awesome views. I was not expecting this, you know? I mean, from down below, the Diamond Mountains just don't look like much. And this is my first view of the west side of the Diamonds. That's Newark Valley down there, and Newark Lake, dried lake, clearly. And instead of going up and over, ow, I think I'm just gonna follow a game trail. And I can see a good one actually going all the way across. And I do see how it goes up the hillside there. So I think that's gonna work out pretty well. Man, this is just incredible. This is hiking right here. Working my way around this hillside here, following these horse trails, and all of a sudden they just kind of faded out and left me like not quite cliffed out yet, but that's kind of the way it's looking. I don't really want to go up any higher. There's really no good path now, and that was all pain in the ass. Definitely no trail there. No game trail, no faint trail, no nothing. Well, I got myself into a little bit of trouble here. I was following these game trails around the side of these mountains, and I was kind of thinking they were going to meet back up with the ridge line at some point, and they really don't. I'm checking my maps, and it looks quite steep over here once I go around this. So I don't really have any good option except to head up the hill. All right, back up to the crest. Whew. Man, is it hazy today. Now this is what you call a Ridgewalk. This is awesome. This is great. And these are the kind of moments that I dream about really when I was planning this hike, you know? Just walking this ridge line. Awesome view, amazing view of everything around you. Feel like you're on top of the world. For all intents and purposes, you are. You're on top of your own world, your own existence right now. And the problem is I can't really see over that last ledge. There's like decent handholds on this. It's not that far. Oh man. And that's, I just came down right up there, and that took some time. Just working my way through these rocks, very steep, very loose. Gotta watch every single hand and foothold. Yeah, around the corner there I just saw, I think it was an antelope, but it was a buck, had a pretty good sized rack if that was an antelope. The sun's about to go down. I'm stuck up here in this ridge line, this bouldery ridge line. Trying to find a way down, and even if I do get a way down, hasn't been anywhere to camp. Nothing on that side, nothing on this side. Beautiful sunset, but nightmare bushwhack to end the day. I think I'm gonna have to go back up and over the ridge. Hate to say it. This sucks. I made it out of the thick brush and off the steep cliffs, and now just walking this ridge line, and I'm just really hoping there's just a flat spot with no rocks on that saddle. If not, oh man, I don't know. I mean, you keep walking, and then, you know, how many more saddles are there? Well, there was a spot on that saddle I could probably use. I'm just gonna walk over here and see if there's anything better. I typically do. It's just right in the wind. It's a flat spot, it'll work, but just right in the wind. So maybe over here they'll be more protected, I don't know.
Oh, first rays of sunlight coming up over the mountains over there. I've still got like 2 hours of sleep left. Man, what a wild place to make camp, you know? Very top of a ridge line like this. Amazing view. And here's camp from last night, literally right on the crest, protected from that little bush there. It worked out pretty well. The wind died down after, I don't know, maybe an hour or two of reaching camp. Get this nice sunrise. And the water sources are few and far between up here on the crest of the Diamonds. And I've really only got 2 water sources planned, I think, the whole way. And my next spring I have marked on the map is about 7+ miles up, and even that one's going to be a little ways down off the ridge. But if that one doesn't work out, I mean, you pretty much have to jump off the ridge or something. So the horse path I was following follows all the way along this hill, and then I thought it was going to go over around this hill here, but it actually starts zigzagging its way up to the top of the crest here. So I'm going to follow it up there and see what happens. I assume the horses know best. They hike this area more than I do, I'll tell you that. This is definitely not like any other through hike. You're pretty much left to kind of figure out your own way. And I think that's what an adventure is. You know, most other through hikes are following a route that's been heavily ground truthed, follow other people's footprints basically, and there's
something to be said about blazing your own. And I wonder what happened to this guy right up here. Just died right on the trail, right at the top. Rest easy, my friend. Ooh. Just gotta watch out for moving boulders. There hasn't been like one solid game trail to follow, but there's just been a network of them, which has been good enough. It's getting me around the hillside. I don't know exactly where it's gonna take me, but it's taking me in the direction I want to go. And now it's just a whole hillside full of boulders. So the challenge is do not stop on the BRT. So I'm about halfway done with the Basin and Range Trail now. And I gotta tell you, it feels like I've been out here a lifetime. I'm still surprised at how good some of these trails are, these horse trails. These are just like a hiking trail, you know? And then just as quickly they can fade into nothing. It's amazing. Well, so once again, it's decision time. On the other side of this hill here, there's supposed to be a spring, and you can kind of see the saddle here. It's actually lower than that. There is game trails running along the side of the hill here, but there's much stronger game trails going this way. And to me, I don't understand. If there was water there, you would think that most of the game trails would be leading this way. Now, maybe this is a better route. Maybe the game trails go this way and then they come back here and then there's a route down. I don't know. It's the last water source of the entire mountain range, so I need the water. So I think I'm gonna follow those just because they're the strongest game trails. Haven't seen a single sign of people up here either. Not a single trace of garbage. No 4x4 roads, no campsites. There's so many flies here, it's not even funny. You can't even stand still. Worried about having my mouth open, I might ingest one. Well, the game trails didn't exactly take me where I wanted them to. Now I gotta go over this shit. This is how thick it is. I can't even find a clear path through this. These flies are just nuts, man. Just cannot escape them. There's like 40 or 50 flies around me at any given time. It's just absolutely crazy. I'm swatting my hand in front of my face, not even seeing flies. I'm just swatting it because I know they're gonna be there, and I hit 1 or 2 flies with every movement of my hand. It's absurd. So anyways, there's supposed to be a spring down here. I've just made it all the way down this patch of green. I don't hear any water. It's pretty much too thick to just go romping around in there looking for it. I'm pretty much trapped. I gotta go through this. Absolutely the stuff that nightmares are made out of. This isn't even hiking. Well, I'm about to do some extreme bushwhacking, so I gotta put my pants on. And I hate wearing these things. I had them on earlier and I I'm about to overheat in them. Fucking flies. This sucks. This really sucks. So now I need to find a way across this impenetrable thicket of nightmare. I hope there's water down there, and I'll tell you what, I am not crossing it again. I will, I'll walk the valley if I have to. At least there's water down there. All right, here we go. Oh, and it's, ow, God damn it. Fucking thorn bushes. Yeah, you gotta wade through thorn bushes on a steep hillside. This is nuts. Oh. Whoa, there is water. I don't know how you collect from it. Can't even collect from that. I can't even bend down to get it. I'm gonna have to go downhill and try and get away from all this. Maybe into a clearing. Oh. Come on. Come on. Oh. Yeah, and just look at all that. There's no way I'm going back through that. Never. I just gotta find a way to collect that water. I'm hoping downhill, maybe it clears out a bit. Maybe the stream gets bigger too, because I mean, I couldn't dip my water bottle into that. I couldn't even bend down to reach it. My shoes are just full of debris. And because it's steep and side hilling, your feet are just like rubbing against all the crap in your shoes. My feet are tender. Oh, I'm thirsty now. I'm hungry, I need a break. Yeah, here's a look at the creek bed. Not like you could collect from that. And it doesn't matter if you could, because it is now dry. So I've walked all the way down here and it's dry. Yeah, it's been a while since I've had a water situation. Short on water. Got maybe 3/4 of a liter. Thirsty, but I'll be fine. There is a spring further down this valley too, so the creek might pick up again. That's pretty common. Still, I think at this point, I've gone downhill so much, I'm not going back up into the mountains where I know it's dry. That doesn't make any sense. At least there's water down in the valley. Other thick patch, ow, of thorn bushes. Come on, man, this is just ridiculous. Like thorns getting me from every angle. All right, a little bit of water, not much. Well, I can actually set my pack down and yeah, I can maybe dig that out. Man, talk about thick. Look at that. Man, what a nightmare this canyon is. So I just took a break over there in those trees. Filtered 2 liters of water, chugged 2 liters of water. Man, what a relief it is to be on this road. Nice, flat, level, graded road. You really have to go without a trail or a road to appreciate. So I hiked about half of the crest of the Diamond Mountains, maybe a little more. Man, that's a dry range. You know, there's no springs up at the top. Lack of water sources make it really, really hard to do a continuous ridge walk on that. You'd have to drop down like I did, and no sane person is gonna go through bushwhacking, all that stuff, go all the way down the canyon, basically to the valley floor where I'm at, just to hike right back up to the crest again. It's not gonna happen. So, you know, I got half in. I feel pretty good about that. And now I'm on this main highway. I'm walking down the road here and I found this flag. Well, I've been walking like 3 hours straight from the last water source where I only took 1 liter with me because I was expecting water here. My map shows Cold Creek Reservoir right here and I don't see a damn thing. All right, I'm in luck. There is a reservoir. It was just hidden, very small. So I'm drinking water in the night. It's actually a really nice stream. Oh yeah, look at this. It's just hard to believe how green this valley is after, you know, seeing the southern end. It was basically just a big dried lake bed. I definitely don't try and seek out road walks, but something about walking through the desert, especially in the evening, you know, when the heat has died down a little bit, and you kind of just walk and not be so hot, just so wide open and big and empty, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Just another evening walking till dark and gambling on where I'll find a campsite. Well, another 14-hour day of hiking. Here's camp for the night under a tree with a bunch of cow shit that I had to move out of the way. In the shadow of the rubies there, so I'll be up there tomorrow. Good morning, Nevada. Time to hit the dusty trail. And there's a mine there. So there was a bunch of lights glowing and everything last night, and apparently they were a 24-hour operation. It's just the whole place was lit up like it was a city. And I'm going over there, and that's the very southern end of the Rubies, and I'm gonna do basically an extension of the Ruby Crest Trail. And basically now I'll follow this Pony Express route into the Rubies. Well, it's pretty neat walking the footsteps of the old Pony Express Trail. And this is one of the Pony Express stations, Jacob's Well. Man, not much left. Got this this kind of cool like railroad tie sign here. You are here. It's good to know. But where's the food court? That's what I want to know. And it only operated from 1860 to 1861, so really short-lived life, but left a pretty big impact across the West. There was many stations. I think 120 stations or something like that across the route. And what they did was they served as like a point where riders could change horses, get a meal, stop and rest, that kind of thing. And they were able to get mail all the way from the West Coast all the way to Missouri in 10 days, which was basically unprecedented at the time, you know. So pretty cool piece of history. I was a little bummed I couldn't make it to the Jacob's Well Pony Express station last night. It would have been a really cool place to camp. I mean, not a great campsite at all by any means, but just the significance of it, you know, saying, you know, I camped at a Pony Express station. I think that would have been really neat, but hey, it didn't work out, so no worries. I got to camp under a nice tree with a bunch of cow crap instead. And this here's Jacob's Well. Nice road leading to it. See cows. Probably has water. Morning, fellas. Look at that water. Ain't that, and it's in a tire too. You know, it's just every hiker's dream. The question is, where do you find a tire this big? This thing's like 10 feet in diameter. Man, that is nasty. All right, so I found a bit better solution here. We got a spigot. You got this little piece you lift, and then there we go, water. That's a lot better than drinking out of this tire. How's that tire water treating you guys this morning? Good stuff, huh? You know, you could season it by taking a crap in the tire, like you do in all the springs that I drink out of. Ugh. I drank over 2 liters there at the well, and I've got 5 to take with me. It's gonna be a while to the next water source. And that's where I'm heading next. I've got at least 3,500 feet to go, and it's actually quite a ways away. The windmill here, but it looks like it's out of service. Only 1 blade on it. And she's looking pretty dry. Man, is it hot. Today's kind of turning into a miserable day. Just road walking. Super hot, no breeze. This pass is an excellent one. No rocks, not very steep, and the road very firm. Right on the summit is a spring of only tolerable water. Where's the spring? I could tolerate some water. Well, here's something I haven't really seen too much of in Nevada, and that's just a big burn area. And I had a chance to weigh myself when I was in Austin, down 18 pounds. Definitely feel it, quite a bit leaner. Got the nice 6-pack abs now. But my pants are literally falling off, you know. You just get down to like whatever you need, you know, is whatever your body needs. And then you just kind of stay there. I've been road walking for like a day now, and I probably covered about 30 miles. Man, I'm just not having it today. It's just hot and it's miserable. It's drenched in sweat. I mean, I'm still probably 7,000 feet elevation. I gotta go up to over 10 today. I think one of the worst parts about having warm temperatures is just the fact that your water gets really, really hot. For me, it's just nothing worse than hot water. And to quote Wilfred Brimley from his Liberty Medical diabetes supplies commercials, "My mouth feels as dry as a horseshoe rasp." Whatever that is. And this warm water is doing nothing for my thirst. I'm finally getting somewhere. Views are definitely improved. It feels so good to get to the top of this hill and just sit down and take a break. But I'm only at like 8,500 feet, and I still got to get to like 10 something, 10.5. It's gonna be some rough hiking over cross-country trail and ridge lines and stuff. At least I got a view now though, and a nice breeze. Wow, look at all that water. It's the greenest, wettest valley I've seen yet.
Yeah, and that's Ruby Marsh down there, more than 37,000 acres of wetlands. It was once the bed of a 200-foot deep lake, and now is a network of spring-fed marshes and shallow ponds. Quite a bit different than anything else I've seen in Nevada.
And that mountain range all the way in the distance there is the Diamond Range that I just walked. You can see the dried lake bed over there. That's Newark Valley. And then Huntington Valley is kind of like right around here where I came from this morning. So now my two options are to basically follow this ridge line up and over that peak, or to go up this valley, this little drainage into that saddle and over. Yeah, I think I'm more inclined to take the ridge route on the side. Yeah, if you haven't noticed the theme by now, it's always a problem every night, isn't it? Where am I gonna find camp? Where am I gonna find water? It's just such a cruel sight looking down there at all that water. I'll tell you what, these game trails are really working out. Shouldn't open my mouth too early, but so far they are anyway. Still following up. I still have a long way to go. I say that a lot. I have a long way to go. It's true. There's always a long way to go. Just had another tick on me, right on my leg. That was number 3 for the whole trip. I'm basically just following game trails. So I'll see how the animals do it and follow suit. Up we go. I just saw 2 horses up there a moment ago. Kind of surprised I haven't seen more. All right, finally up on the pass. I came from that little point right there an hour and 15 minutes ago. All right, well, time to head down this pass. There's no way I'm getting the water source tonight. It's actually really hard to reach. Yeah, I'm just so tired. All I want to do is chug water. Got a little over a liter left, but if that water source tomorrow doesn't pan out, there's nothing else around for a long ways. So I need to conserve that water. And off in the distance there, right at the edge of the trees, there's a whole bunch of horses. I can't tell how many, they're just grouped together. 6, 7, 8, I don't know. I thought I'd walk to this field and just see if there's water. It looked a little bit green, like a low spot. Of course, there's nothing. So I'm gonna head to the trees there for a little bit of cover where those horses are at. And I think that's where I'm gonna try and make camp for the night. 9, I count 9 horses right there. Man, where are you guys getting your water? Hopefully that place I want to get mine from tomorrow. Yeah, before I set up camp tonight, I want to know what I'm getting into tomorrow. I want to see if I can spot a game trail or some way to skirt around this mountainside here. I really don't want to climb that thing, just have to drop down. Plus it just goes up and down, and ultimately it just goes to that saddle on the other side. look at all that water down there. Just the reflection off of it is cool looking. So there does appear to be a little bit of a trail for now. Probably following this thing more than I want to and kind of committing to it a little bit now. I don't really want to go back the way I came now because I came too far, but there's really nowhere to camp. I do this to myself every night. All right, so I think I found a spot. Do you see it? Yeah, me neither. I'm gonna have to move some rocks. Cleared this spot, cowboy camp. So lay my air mattress right here. And then, yeah, I'll have this for a view.
Last night was an interesting night. My tent is pitched on such a weird angle, such a weird slope. A lot of sand blowing around, so everything's covered in sand. Now my zippers don't work correctly. And the only reason I set this tent up at all is because there were so many damn ants. This has got to be one of the most ridiculous places I think I've ever set up camp. I basically set up right on top of a bit of an ant's nest, I guess. I moved one rock and then the ants just went nuts. And that's where I pulled the rock up and the ants started coming out. There was just this cavity left under there. There's a rock under my head over there. Anyways, I made it work. Got through the night. Nice view to wake up to. I'm thirsty as hell. I still got a ways to go to water.
And all the rocks around here are like this really sharp limestone. And it's just so easy to cut yourself. I'll just use my snot rag here. Yeah, it looks pretty dry. Oh, I see like a tank or a well or something right there, so I'm definitely gonna check that out. Look at the angle that thing's sitting on. It's not level at all. She dry. All right, well, that little gully right there is my next best chance for water. Well, this is not good. It's damp. There's no water. Well, I'm gonna walk up it a ways. I think it's worth a shot just to see if it gets wetter. And a lot of these sources, they just kind of like seep into the ground. Oh wow, that's steep. I'm not gonna be able to get that far up this thing. And the bugs are horrendous in here. Here's some drips of water dripping off this rock. It's still, I don't know how it would collect from that really. So I'll keep going up, I guess. Oh man, that's a beautiful sight. Listen to that dripping water. That's gonna work. It's cold. Oh, it's perfect. Oh man, oh, it's so cold. If you ever want to be thankful for anything, you're thankful for water when you need it. Yeah! Yeah! Quite a bit heavier now with 5 liters. But man, I'm glad to have 5 liters on my back, 2.5 in my stomach. So if my water source didn't work out, my plan was to follow this canyon all the way downhill of that road, and then clearly there's infinite water down there. And that canyon probably would have been a pain in the ass, but at the same time, I think it would have been really cool to walk through. That's what I say now. There's actually a road down here now, and that's what I'm gonna follow to keep heading my northerly direction there. That's gonna peter out eventually, but it'll take me a little ways. So when walking through thick sagebrush like this, you basically get two kinds of encounters: scrapers and stabbers. And the scrapers are like these, where you just kind of brush through and you scrape your legs as you walk, and you kind of get used to that. And the ones you want to watch out for are the stabbers, where you get like a broken off branch and it's like a really sturdy piece of wood and it just stabs you. Feels like your leg just got impaled. Scrapers and stabbers. Welcome to Nevada. Yeah. I figured I'd at least stop and check that out and see if there's any caves up there. Looked like it had a lot of potential for caves, but alas, I saw 0 caves. Just about up to the top of this pass. Always nice to crest the pass and get the first view of that new basin, you know. It seems like it's been a while since I've seen any interesting rocks. The Diamond Mountains didn't have any diamonds, and so far I haven't seen anything really interesting in the rubies. Definitely no rubies. There's been a lot of these like mesa type formations here, which is actually pretty cool. It's unlike a lot of other places I've been, I guess, in Nevada.
Well, there's like 7 horses over there. Oh, and there's number 8. Don't get left behind, dude. And this tree is growing sideways. Impressive. Well done, pretzel tree.
I'm up on the crest of the Ruby Mountains now, and surprised to see a road that's not on the map. Basically just a couple unnamed peaks. Maybe like 2 or 3 like this, and then I'll reach Pearl Peak. Well, these are the first interesting rocks I've seen in a long time. You got all this green here, so some sort of oxidized copper or malachite. But then this is really interesting. You've got like a stripe of blue going across this rock. I have never seen that color blue. A little bit of blue. Got a bit of a little pit here. Somebody's been digging. So I just cracked one of these rocks open, and the blue and green does run throughout, and then you've got this like silvery gray material here. Now it looks a lot like what I was finding in the Lincoln mine, except that it's not as flaky. I can't really scratch that and flake that off. But I tell you what, I'm taking it with me. And these peaks on this ridgeline didn't look anywhere near this big or this steep on my map. I was hoping there'd be a game trail skirting the side of this one. Definitely not on this side. Haven't seen one on the other side either. Well, that is it for the Jeep trail. Now it's off trail, unless you count game trails. Then it's on trail, on game trail. And this is the final push up to Pearl Peak. And going up on this one's not what I'm worried about. It's going down. You'll see. The summit of Pearl Peak, 10,800 feet. And there's a look back at the ridge line. Gonna walk to get up here.
And here's a look north at the Ruby Mountains, one of the most iconic and picturesque of all the ranges in Nevada.
PPR 2319. A little cryptic. Just worked my way around that. I can hear a rock slide over there, I just can't see it. Which way do you suppose the wind was blowing? First I gotta get down this. I can't even see over the edge of it. There's that ridge going down here. I'm gonna follow.
And now for the big descent down from the ridgeline. And this next section is what I've been a bit worried about.
This is it, the Ridge of Doom. My options are basically I can follow this hillside down here. I think it'll get too steep eventually, but I might be able to work my way around the base of these. There's some spots on the map where I'm definitely gonna get cliffed out if I just follow that ridge line. I guess I gotta figure out what I wanna eat for my last meal. Sure is beautiful though. I think this is gonna be pretty slow. I think there's gonna be some ass sliding on some of this stuff. Just glad I have new shoes, at least I have some tread. Although I don't know how much I'll have after this. kind of do a controlled slide, I guess. As long as it doesn't get out of control. I started off over here on this slope, and you can see, you know, the angle of that. You don't just hike the BRT, you survive it. There you go. One of many falls. Making progress. Just slide my way down this mountain. That is what I want to be on over there. So at least I can see it now. I guess I'll just slide my ass down there. And I think I even see a game trail that's following along it, so it probably won't help me much. Yeah, there's a bunch of sheep down there in that valley. I hear dogs barking every now and then. Right around there is a white tent. So that's probably the sheep herder watching after his sheep. Well, I made it down to the ridgeline, and according to the map, at least I'm done with the steepest part, but definitely not out of the woods yet. Yeah, it's looking back the way I came. It's just absolutely ridiculous to look back up at that. So I think that was easily in the top 5 worst things I've had to do on this trip. I feel like it's gonna be really hard to choose the top 5 by the end of this thing. Slip on something and then you catch yourself and you're like, oh, I almost fell, you know? And then, you know, you got that sinking feeling in your gut. Every fucking step is like that. Nerve-wracking, maddening. Like, I don't know how I keep doing this, why I keep doing this.
But then these views, they make it all worth it.
What I want to do is get to where I need to go, get my water, set up camp. Absolutely exhausting. Jesus, this thing's like a knife edge. On the other side, it's all thick trees. I just came from the other side. I'm exhausted. I'm just stumbling and probably slurring my words like I'm drunk. Nice sunset. I'll tell you what, this saddle is like my dream saddle right here to camp on. But I need to drop down and get some water. There's a road down there, and there's a couple of springs down in this valley, so I feel like this is my salvation. I just got to get down there. Man, what a beautiful sunset, though. Deserve some sort of reward after all the work I put in today, I'll tell you what. Look at that. Come on. Oh man, this is gonna really suck. The whole patch of forest. I don't know how thick that's gonna be. Yeah, I really don't see this happening. Shit. Right before dark too. I'm gonna have to go up and around. It's just so thick. I can't go through that. Come on. God damn it. Ah! I can't even see the ground. I literally just ran down that entire hillside full of sagebrush. Without a care, without a worry given to my legs. They're scratched and bleeding like no other. That was truly, truly horrible. When I finally got on this road, which should lead me to a spring, I hope, at least I'm out of the thick brush, I should be able to find a place to camp.
Here's camp from last night. I tried setting my tent up, but basically on a giant rock slab. And there's like 1 inch of sand on top of all this rock, so I gave up and just cowboy camped. And there was mosquitoes everywhere, so it was kind of miserable. I just kind of had to like tuck my head into my bag. Man, I'm feeling rough today. Man, I was hoofing it until after dark. Basically ran down that hill, all the way down that hill, through all the sagebrush like it was not even there. And my legs are just kind of cut up and still dirty. I tried to wipe them with my wet wipes and everything last night, but they still look dirty. Feet are still dirty. Didn't get any water last night because I couldn't see the spring because it was dark. Couldn't even look for it. Beautiful country though. These rock formations are pretty cool. If it was light out last night when I got to camp, I'm sure I could have found a really sweet camp, but my camp was, shall we say, delightfully subpar. So the spring I was looking for last night is just in this giant cluster of trees. You can't collect from it, it's too thick. There's some water it's a bit difficult to collect from just because it's so thick, but I should be able to get some water and keep going for a little bit. Yesterday was one of the roughest days of hiking I can remember. Just the way yesterday ended, man. But when you're on a mission, when you got somewhere to go, I mean, you make it happen, you know? And this is a really green and lush valley. The map shows a whole bunch of springs, but really it looked like there was only that one reliable one, the one I already hit. And today was forecast to be 98 degrees. Good day to be up in the mountains, I'll tell you that. This is another milestone for the BRT, a parking lot with cars, a trailhead with cars. I hear people actually hike the Ruby Crest Trail. I've been really surprised with all these like rock hoodoos everywhere in this area. It wasn't something I heard about, but it's really cool. Like this place here. Yeah, that's a cool little camp spot. And there's a look back at Pearl Peak where I came from yesterday. Oh, okay, so this one's like a reverse one. Usually it's attached to the post. You lift it over the gate side. Down there's some ponds. I know there's beaver ponds here in the Ruby, so those are probably it. They kind of look dammed up a little bit to me. Check it out, a trail sign. I was hoping it would do the spin move, but anyways, trail, even though it's still a road.
hot as it is out today, oh man, I make sure to stop and cool off my head. I think it makes a big difference. And just the last few days, man, the flies, mosquitoes, flies, and biting black flies have been going nuts. Especially here in the Rubies. Someday this trail will get out of the woods and there'll be some high elevation lakes and things. I promise. Got this creek flowing into this little pond here. Looks like it's dammed up. Damn beavers. Actually, I see a fish down there at the bottom. Another flowing creek here, and another one here. I think it's safe to say I don't have to worry about water anymore for a little while. Yourself a little walking stick, a walking trident. Yes, I have trekking poles, but I'm too lazy to take my pack off. Put the pack back on, put them away. It's easier to find a stick. So I'm gonna at least try and make it to Overland Lake tonight, which I hear is really nice. And it looks like it's roughly the halfway point between Harrison Pass, where I started this morning, and the Road's End trailhead below Lamoille Lake and Lamoille Canyon. Unfortunately, the trail's gonna drop down here in a little bit, and I've got another 2,000 foot climb to do today. So now I gotta drop all the way down to the bottom of this canyon and climb right back up over the top, and then I'll go up over the ridge. Switchbacks, that's something really haven't had a whole lot of in Nevada. Without any hiking trails, there really aren't any switchbacks.
Well, at least I'm going the right way.
And that's South Fork Smith Creek down there. Hoping there's a nice little swimming hole or something down there. Although I debate whether I should take time doing that now at this creek, the next creek, or just push to Overland Lake. Definitely not the swimming hole I was hoping for, but still pretty nice.
Got a nice sized beaver pond there. I could take a swim with the beavers. I'll just swim right up to their lodge.
On top of a small little pass, it's just the ridge that separates South and Middle Fork Smith Creeks. So I'm heading down there to Middle Fork next. And this is Middle Fork Smith Creek. Yeah, pretty comparable to South Fork in size. Topped off my water, cooled off my head a little bit, ate a snack, ready for the big climb up to Overland Lake. Thick here too, even on the Ruby Crest Trail. I'd been kind of dreading this climb, but honestly, climbs like this aren't that bad, you know. It's short, it's direct. All right, now we're getting somewhere. And now I've just got 1,000 foot of switchbacks and I'll be up at the top. That's all.
So this is actually a false summit. The pass itself is still another 200 foot higher, but I'm right at the 10,000 foot mark now, and it's actually quite cold. Hard to believe I'm saying that. It was so hot earlier.
I had phone service up there in the pass very briefly. I was able to check my messages, talk to Cody. It was one of the guys I met on the 4th of July. He lives in the area there, so he's gonna pick me up tomorrow evening from the Road's End trailhead in Lamoille Canyon. So pretty excited about that. I got a ride lined up. I don't need to worry about hitching. Oh yeah. It's Overland Lake down there. Man, that is gorgeous. It's got Sierra vibes, Wind River Range vibes.
Unlike many of the mountain ranges in Nevada that are made of limestone and other porous rock, the granite composition here in the Rubies does a much better job at preventing that surface water from seeping into the earth. And this allows the high alpine lakes seen along the Ruby Crest to form.
Man, this is so cool. So unlike everything else in Nevada. So that's Upper Overland Lake. I'm gonna go down to the lower lake. Saw somebody camping there, but I'm sure there's room for one more. Wow. You gotta be kidding me. Man, just look at that cliffside. That's nuts. This is totally Wind River Range. How's it going? Hi. Well, here's camp at the lower Overland Lake. Pretty good view. No complaints.
How's that for a morning view? Wow.
So the Rubies are really the only range along the BRT where I was actually expecting to see other hikers. And there was a group of about 10 people camped at the lake last night. One girl I talked to had hiked the PCT last year. She made it all the way to the end, the final 100 miles south of the Canadian border, and suffered a fractured hip. Can you imagine the heartbreak? Hiking almost 6 months and going through that right at the end? No way. That looks like a pretty legitimate waterfall. Maybe like 40 foot high?
The rubies indeed. Who would have thought in Nevada? Look at this. This is just nuts. Look at that rock face. That's like 1,000 feet vertical. Waterfalls? I just can't make any progress. I just keep looking back and I'm like, just in awe. So one thing about this little valley I'm in here, you can just hear the constant roar of water. In other places on this route, you know, you can hear a creek or something like that when you're really close, but I mean, water's way down there and I could just hear the roar. Yeah, the thing about Nevada is just the transition between landscapes happens so fast. I mean, you could see right up there. I mean, this is alpine zone, you know, subalpine, and then just a couple of miles away is desert. You know, you walk straight up from the desert floor to, you know, the most beautiful mountain environment you could imagine in a half a day's hike. It's unreal. And turn. Reach the top of this little pass, and now say hello to a new canyon, new valley, which is so far just spectacular.
It's great, I love it. Woo! Ruby Crest Trail.
There were so many wildflowers, just like you said with Washington. And since our miles were so slow, we switched to FPH, flowers per hour, to measure our progress. It's like a modern style cairn. It's modern art cairn. Ooh, it even moves. Yeah, I get it. It's the biggest thing I struggle with, I guess, is just that balance between trying to do what you want to do now and then trying to at least be somewhat responsible for your future.
I
And
feel responsible enough that my family doesn't worry too much. But, I mean, yeah, they worry about me a lot. But whatever.
just look at that, Nevada. Realize how much work you're saving me, right? Because otherwise I'd have to set the camera down and then walk all the way over there and then walk back towards it. So now you're kind of like that person in the shot with the extra motion. Yeah.
Sportivas, but they just didn't hold up.
The Wildcats?
Bushido.
Bushidos, I don't know the Bushidos.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same, except a little beefier.
Bruschetta?
the ass. Those switchbacks.
Yeah. I didn't realize, like, I knew it was at the end of our trail yesterday, but I didn't realize I was already to it. So when I started up, I was like, this isn't gonna go straight up that hill.
Yeah.
And then it did, and I was like, oh.
Well, yeah. You should see the Ruby Crest Trail. If you want to have faith in a trail system, that is not the one.
Maybe it's not for me then.
Get ready for awesome views. They're coming. It's coming.
Basin.
And yes. Where are you, Lake? Well, it's pretty nice. Oh, dang. Hardcore, look at that. That's how you know you're dealing with a thru-hiker. No regard to foot dryness.
Iron.
Even here in Nevada, like, man, I hacked up the names of all these places.
Yeah.
Tonopah, I called it Tonopah forever. There's that bird that people hunt here, a game bird called chucker. And I was calling it chukar.
That's what I say. Oh no.
Yeah, thought they were supposed to be ultra marathon runners.
Yeah, but they all were smoking and drinking and mixing everything last night. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna regret that.
Too much Jameson. Yeah, this is Farve Lake. Not quite as nice as Overland Lake, but still pretty nice. Well, I'm just leaving Farve Lake. I took a nice break there, and that's where Fafa is camping tonight. So we hiked most of the day together, and it was really nice just having somebody to talk to, another thru-hiker. And it's been one of the most, probably the most enjoyable day, I think, for me so far in Nevada. 6 days since I've left Eureka. Feels like a month. And this is Liberty Lake. Man, absolutely gorgeous. Just look at the turquoise color of the lake. I love it. Nothing beats the color of a high alpine lake. Man, just so beautiful. All you want to do is just kind of sit back and relax, enjoy a spot like this, do some fishing, some swimming. But for me, right on the other side of that pass, Liberty Pass, is Road's End Trailhead. And I've got a ride waiting for me in less than an hour. It's all downhill to
Road's End trailhead from here. In fact, I can see the parking lot. You can see it down there. Good amount of snow still on the trails. All these switchbacks down here, you can actually see the snow covering the switchbacks. So a fair amount of snow really lingers here in the Rubies. All these trails are part trail, part stream. Doing double duty. Just look at the color of that lake. About a mile and a half from the trailhead now. I'm wrapping up section 6, Basin and Range Trail. It feels good to get this one under the belt. And the first 4 days were just brutal. Just absolutely brutal. Huge water carries, lots of elevation gain, off trail, really hard. The last 2 days have been a lot easier being on trail. It's really nice to wrap up the section on a good note, positive note. I gotta say, today was my favorite day on trail. So I end this section with a even greater appreciation for the variety of environments in Nevada and just the raw beauty of it. And I think as far as Nevada goes, the Ruby Mountains are a range that stand above the rest. Yo! Sorry to keep you waiting. Yeah, I figured it wasn't the worst place to be waiting around, but
How you doing?
good to see you, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Not too bad. Last 2 days were really nice. The 4 days before that were rough as hell.
Yeah, it's great
Yeah.
fishing too. Actually, from where you were at Liberty's, there's one of 3 lakes in Nevada. It's got a Mackinac.
Yeah, you were telling me about
Yeah,
that.
that's where I'm headed next week. The spots.
Yeah.
Drown a worm. I got you some drinks if you're after it.
Hell yeah.
You can throw it in the trunk.
Oh, you're in the Beamer?
You believe it.
Riding in style.
Something like it.
All right.
Got brew if you're after.
Ah, come on. So what sounds a goat make? Ah!
Thanks for watching. I hope I've earned your subscription and a thumbs up. Visit basinandrangetrail.com for official maps and guidebook. Follow Seeking Lost on social media, and consider lending your support on Patreon if you would like to see more quality outdoor content.